Hello everybody, what's up and welcome back to the Starcraft 2 Ownage Shack. David here, going to be bringing you a Starcraft commentary, and this is going to be a Protoss versus Zerg, or sorry, Zerg versus Protoss as I like to say. I like to keep those names balanced for the most part, and it's going to be between NEXArtGGaTeR over here, the bottom position of Metalopolis, and his Protoss opponent is going to be purple up here at the top position, and that is actually NEXSickness. Of course, two Korean players here. Probably the toughest server to play on, really high level of play, it's quite something, I'm just going to put it that way. And I'm really looking forward to seeing these games. I love Korean replays simply because, well, you know, I'm kind of sick of the North American style of play. I like playing it, but you know what, it's nice to see something new for a while, and so I'm hoping that's what these guys will bring today. So, looks like we have nothing too fancy coming out right now. Going to be just getting his Overlord as usual. Pylon going to be going down by the ramp, so I guess Protoss is looking to wall off, as you should versus Zerg opponent. Nothing really, you know, too special there. Looks like Zerg is up to 13 supply now, while Protoss is at 12, so a huge advantage for Zerg right now. Well, not really. Chrono Boost is being used on the Nexus, however. Meanwhile, we have okay, look, Extractor is going to be going down first, so not going to be a fast expand from Gator right now. I really like that. Versus Protoss, fast expands are so tough to execute these days. It's because this probe, what he'll do is sometimes he'll put 3 pylons on the ramp to block you. He might just, you know, do a cannon rush, or he can block the Nexus with all kinds of buildings. Really, it's quite annoying to deal with, and I think that going for Pool and Extractor is definitely the way to go. And judging by the fact that this Extractor came before the Pool, I'd probably have to say he's going to be rushing speed here. I don't expect to see roaches quite yet, but you know, I could be absolutely wrong on that. Meanwhile, Protoss is going to be getting his gateway up at the ramp. Meanwhile, another pylon coming down. Oh, a double assimilator, very fast actually. Looks like we're going to see some nice tech up here quite quickly. Hopefully, you know what, maybe we won't actually see a 4-gate here. I would be very pleased to not cast another 4-gate. So, you know what? Let's just keep our fingers crossed and see what happens. Looks like the probe is still just, but you know, patrolling the natural here of the Zerg player. Going to be keeping tabs of when exactly he plans to expand. We have 4 Zerglings coming out, most likely to deal with that probe and get him out of there so he can safely lay down the expansion. Looks like speed is indeed being researched right now, and he pulled off all his drones from gas, so he's not going to be looking to get roaches or banelings anytime soon. Meanwhile, geez, Protoss exactly the opposite, really harvesting that gas quite quickly there. Getting a Zealot first, it looks like, and his wall-off is now complete. The Zealot will obviously tank much more damage than a Stalker would, and deal a lot more damage at that wall-off position, so that's really why you would go for a Zealot first. Sentry's a great choice for the second, because then you can force field, obviously. Just basic stuff here. Meanwhile, the expansion is going to be going down at the normal time, which is around 21, 22 supply for a Zerg player who did opt to get that Zergling speed first. So speed is, you know, it's almost there, 110 seconds. Meanwhile, going to be poking up the ramp here with those Zerglings. Going to meet the Zealot and will be forced to retreat. And a Stargate is coming out. Okay, so looks like we might see an air build here. Well, not might, of course we will. The real question is this going to be Phoenix or Void Ray? I'm going to have to go with Void Ray based on how fast he truly got those gas. I'd be surprised if it were Phoenix's. And you know what? Void Rays actually do extremely well right now simply because there's only one Queen. We don't have Lair Tech anywhere close to starting for Hydralisk, and there's no Evolution Chamber right now for any Spore Crawlers, so, you know, hopefully Zerg will get some wind of that. He's got his Overlord in position, so if Zerg actually sacks that, he will be able to see this. And it is going to be Void Rays. Okay, so, you know, hopefully our Zerg player, Gator, has seen my last tutorial where I explained how to deal with Void Rays, and you know what, we'll just have to see if he does that. Of course, he obviously has not. I'm sure you can't even speak English. But you know what? Great StarCraft players, there's only one language, and that's micro and macro. And yeah, I think that probably fell a little flat, so I'll just drop that right now. Okay, you know what? He definitely sees that. Sorry, he does not see it, but rather he predicts it. We have an Evolution Chamber going down. So Zerg definitely knows that a 4-gate would have attacked already, and that really leaves only this. The only other option besides a 4-gate is air of some sort, whether it's Phoenix or Void Ray. You simply need that Evolution Chamber for Spore Crawlers. We can see that coming out now. And the Overlord will be sacked actually to get vision of that anyways. So it's going to be a 3-gate with Void Ray support for a Protoss player into an expansion, oddly enough. So that's great, I like that. It means it's not going to be an all-in. And we've been seeing tons of Protoss all-ins lately. And you know what? I'm looking forward to this game, actually, at this point. Looks like we're at long positions here, so maybe we will see some macro. I actually have no idea how long the game even is. Obviously, I covered this up. And I don't like to look at the time beforehand. Looks like we do have... Wait, sorry, what's that? Missile attacks, level 1. Okay, so Zerg is going to be getting Hydralisk, it looks like. His lair is... You know, it's almost... Well, it just barely started, but it should probably be out in time. I think the Spore Crawlers will be enough to cover him from any Void Ray pressure for now until he can get that Hydralisk Den out. It's going to be very important, and I don't think we have a Roach Warren anywhere on the field right now. Nope, and that's, you know what, that's just as well, because there's simply nothing here that Roaches would deal a ton of damage versus. Hydras are much better all around unless there are Colossi on the board. And Colossi will not be coming anytime soon with Void Rays. Looks like we're going to actually be getting a Phoenix after the first Void Ray. Meanwhile, the first Void Ray takes some hull damage, just a tiny bit, trying to do some pressure. One Queen versus one Void Ray. The Queen will win, I believe. I'm still convinced that's Isaac Clarke, but I could be totally wrong. Anyways, let's see. What's our transition for Protoss? Nothing quite yet. Just chrono boosting his Nexus, getting a ton of probes, adding more gateways, it looks like. So it's not going to be... It doesn't look like it's going to be that massive ball of Colossi and Void Rays, which is almost impossible to stop as Zerg. And you know what, I'd kind of like to see that strategy, simply because I'm curious to see how well it truly is. It just popped up on the Korean ladder recently, and it's been ripping face, to put it lightly. Artosis made a whole video in his Imbalance series about this, and you should really go watch that if you haven't. It's very interesting. I love his stuff, probably my favorite caster. So the Evo Chamber's just finished, missile attacks level 1, right on time for the Hydras that are now coming out. We see the Den is now complete. Meanwhile, we have, oh, it looks like level 2 is started immediately afterwards, and Protoss is just continuing to get a bunch of Phoenixes here. It looks like he's trying to do some scouting with them. He's got a ton of movement queued up. Going to see the timing of that expansion, and I don't know. Let's just see what he knows in the way of tech for the Zerg right now. So he hasn't seen the Hydralisk Den, but he's seen the lair morphing. He obviously knows he's been spotted. And Spire and Roach Warren are both now going down, so he's going to leave all avenues available. You know, I'd be surprised to see Mutalisk out of this Spire, like in mass. I think the Spire will be used for Corruptors later down the road, however, if our Protoss opponent does choose to go for Colossi. Ooh, a nice contamination. Going to be slowing down the production of that Void Ray there. Where's the Overseer, though? Looks like he got picked off by those Phoenixes. A little unfortunate there. You can see his blood is just splattered all over the ground. And you know what? There's not much action here quite yet. We have Groove Spines on the way. You know, more Void Rays should be coming out once that contamination spell finishes. Meanwhile, Protoss has finally decided it's time to push out and do some pressure. Looks like he's got a ridiculous amount of sentries right now. Should do very well because you can actually force field if you have good micro and cut the Hydras in half so the ones behind can't hit the Void Rays. And then the Void Rays will have the advantage over the Hydras, which are supposed to be the counter to Void Rays, really showing how force fields, proper force field placement, can turn the tide of a battle. Going to be lifting the Queen up immediately with the Phoenixes. Should probably lift up a few Hydras as well. I don't think Zerg has nearly enough to deal with this, however. We can see he's going to need a ton more units. It looks like he's been droning up way too hard throughout this entire game. Phoenixes are kind of useless now, however. Drones will be sacrificed here. Zealots should go down very quickly. And what he's going to want to do is focus down that Void Ray very fast. That's going to be the biggest damage dealer there. And then he can... Whoa, nice force fields blocking off, preventing that third base from being saved. Looks like that's actually going to go down extremely quickly. And infinite force fields almost from these sentries because of how long they've been up and the sheer quantity of them. Going to allow them to have tons of energy. We have a large amount of units coming out for Zerg, however, right now, and that should easily be able to mop this up, and we see that Protoss realizes that, and he backs out. Important note that taking that expansion down was absolutely huge. Looks like the Zerglings will try and get a few sentries. That could be huge as well. Will he get some? He gets 2 immediately. Will he get a third? It definitely looks like it. A third does go down. That's 300 gas immediately down the drain. Nice job there, cleaning up a few of those sentries. Really want to keep that sentry count low as a Zerg player, or you risk the basically what just happened there. Mass force fields owning you really hard. Sick Flyer attacks level 1 is now being upgraded, while a robotics facility and Twilight Council are almost complete here. Not sure what he's going to be getting out of that. I imagine a bay would go down immediately after that facility is done to get Colossi started. It's really what he needs versus this unit composition. Roach Hydra. Ooh, Colossus. Colossus Void Ray can deal sick damage versus that. Looks like a bunch of units are warped in here, and he should back off. This is way too much for him to handle. The Stalker count is off the charts right now, and these Hydras off creep should easily be mopped up. They're so slow. Oh, that was a bad place to engage as the Zerg. You can see he's falling behind in supply quite a bit now, and he's expanding at the wrong time. You don't want to expand when you attack. You want to pressure, but not commit when you expand. So a little bit of a mechanical flaw right there. And there goes the Corruptors, actually. Maybe a little too many, because there are only 3 Void Rays out. I know he's probably thinking about Colossi, but really, versus this, just a few Void Rays, 9 Corruptors, that might be overkill. Looks like Blink is almost done for the Stalkers as well. And when that happens, they can blink right under those Corruptors and to completely annihilate them. This expansion is going to be cleaned up for the 2nd time. However, he does manage to get the cancel off. And it looks like he actually missed the middle here. Didn't get vision. Oh, sorry, he did get vision of that. Just chose not to engage. This actually might finish and then get owned, which would be a very unfortunate loss of minerals there. Zerg is clearly banking right now anyways. And being contained at 2 base like this is actually not a good situation for Zerg to be in. Look, he's got a ton of Corruptors, but they're not going to do anything versus this huge Stalker count. What he really needs is more Roaches and Hydralisks. We don't even see a Colossus Bay down yet, I don't think. No, I don't think a Colossus Bay went down, so it looks like Colossi are not on the menu at all. In fact, if we look at the unit counting station, he didn't even get an observer out, so this robotics facility has pretty much been inactive for the entire game. Flipping back to the production tab right now, we see Carapace level 1 is now on the way for the Zerg player, while Protoss takes his 2nd expansion here. Going to be putting some pylons down there as well. Now let's take a look at the upgrades for Protoss. Looks like he has 0 right now for his ground, so maybe that's the only thing that Zerg has going for him right now. He does have superior ground upgrades at 2-0. But just look at the size of this force. That is absolutely huge. 134? Man, that looks like a lot bigger than 134, just from the visual aspect of this. And what's Zerg at? He's only at... Oh my god, looks like he's seriously been macroing. He's at 149, but, you know, this unit combination might be inferior. These Void Rays are going to do crazy damage if the Corruptors can't focus fire. Looks like he's doing just that, though, and the Void Rays are falling very fast. The Stalkers are blinking back, however, taking minimal losses. Now that the Void Rays have been cleaned up, he's forced to back out. Wow, those Corruptors really paid for themselves there, and he didn't even lose that many. Very nice to see the Zerg player holding that off very well. And the Stalker count is still insanely high, and he should be getting more Roaches as a result, and indeed he does. I really feel like at this point the lack of upgrades for our Protoss player is coming to basically bite him in the rear. Zerg has already started level... Or sorry, I thought I saw level 3, but I was... you know what? I was wrong. So, no, we don't have level 3 up yet, but level 1 armor is almost done, and then he's going to have essentially 3 upgrades over his opponent. And that's never a situation you want to be in. In fact, do we even have a forge? I don't think so. I do not think we have a forge anywhere on the map, and it doesn't look like it. We do have Templar Archives, however, so it looks like we're going to be switching into High Templar tech, which is very good versus the Roach Hydra. It's going to really take Zerg off guard simply because he expects Colossi at this point. But you know what? The Mass Stalkers are really starting to have diminishing returns at this point. There are just so many Roaches and Hydras that there's nothing these can do. And you know what? He's just going to be taking an expansion. Now that's good mechanics right there. Going to be pressuring the Zerg so he feels a bit more defensive, and that's going to buy the Protoss time to get this Expo. Looks like Zerg might not be biting though. Seems to be wanting to move out a bit. Should probably check out to see if there's anything here. Looks like he's got nice Overlord spotting there. Meanwhile, let's take a look at what Protoss is doing. Now he finally starts his ground